CEOs are on the offensive against slowing growth, and they are focused on building innovative, people-driven organizations. That's according to the Conference Board's CEO Challenge, which is a survey of 943 business leaders from around the world. And joining me now is the Conference Board's Chief Economist, Bart van Ark. Bart, good to have you back on the show.
Hello, Michelle. Good to see you.
Good to see you. So, Bart, tell me about the survey. I want to get a sense of which companies you're speaking to, across which regions. Who are these 940 plus business leaders?
Right. This is actually the 15th year that we're interviewing CEOs around the world about what are your most important challenges in the next year or the next years ahead. This year, we indeed managed to interview 943 CEOs. They're really from around the world. About a quarter of them are from the United States, 1/3 of them from Asia, quite a few from Europe and Latin America. And they're really a very wide range of companies. 25% of the respondents are CEOs of companies larger than 1 billion in revenue. The others are smaller.
And you can't disclose which companies and which CEOs?
No, we do this on an anonymous basis. That also allows CEOs to really sort of give the replies they want to give.
The real honest answer. Well,
exactly.
The main takeaway, Bart, from the study is that CEOs are optimistic,
right,
and they choose to be offensive.
Right.
On the offensive, rather.
Yeah.
What does this mean?
Well, it's interesting that, we're now kind of, 6 years after the global recession hit us in 2008. And, it hasn't been an easy time. But you do now begin to see that CEOs are really trying to manage that slower growth rate that the global economy is going through, that are beginning to manage that by really being on the offensive, indeed by trying to gain market share, by trying to reach out to the customers.
So less about cutting costs and more about building revenue.
Yeah, it's interesting. We asked a question about sort of how they're driving profitability. It's all about the top line. It's not about cutting costs anymore. And they're really trying to make the investments. And then the most important investment that they're making is investment in their people.
Well, those are definitely positive signs. And you mentioned investments in people.
Right.
And the study asked them for their top 5 long-term challenges. And human capital is number 1.
Right.
Does that surprise you?
Not quite, because it's actually been true for a couple of years that human capital was the most important one. But we do now really see what I would call a human capital plus, because it's not just about workers and how you retain and acquire and retrain people, but it is also really making sure that you use those people in order to get your organization focused on innovation, on customers. Well, one thing is hiring people, but the other thing is to get the workforce work together in the company in order to be on the offensive. As I mentioned, customers and customer relationships was one of the challenges that really has come up very quickly now. And that's, of course, where you need people to make that kind of connection.
Is that because of increased competition? Why is customer relationships on the top 5 challenge list?
Yeah, I think a couple of things going on. It is increased competition. The global economy is slow. So it is all now about winning market share and taking market share away from others. But I think the other thing really is that the consumer is becoming very emancipated, if you like. I mean, they move very quickly from one product and one service to another one. So you've got to be out there continuously with your new products and services.
And hence innovation comes in, operational excellence and sustainability. Now, I thought the sustainability part was very interesting because with the exception of sustainability, the other 4 challenges make the top 5 list in every region.
Right.
And you'd think that this is a big issue in developed countries, and not so much in emerging markets, but in fact, that's not what the study revealed.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Sustainability also increased on the list and is now clearly in the top 5, with only one major exception, which is the United States. In the past, we already had sustainability pretty high up in China. It is understandable, given the rapid growth of China, all the pollution problems that we have over there. But now we see it also in other Asian economies. We see it even in Latin America and in Europe, of course. It's only in the United States that sustainability remains pretty low.
So China and India rank sustainability higher than the US.
Significantly higher.
That is very interesting. Now, Bart, 2014 was a huge year of cyber threats and cybersecurity being an issue from companies across the board. How are CEOs viewing that?
Yeah, it's very interesting to see that. I mean, we did this survey in September, October. So this was before some of the major issues that we had, for example, with Sony at the end of the year. But we had, particularly in the United States, a few attacks already on retailers, and that was clearly on the mind of the CEOs when they responded to this. So you do see that they're now really, again, trying to get their arms around cybersecurity. Again, it's not about technology. It is really about how do you prepare yourself as an organization in order to deal with the risks of attack. It's not necessarily just the technology, but it is the people who need to have certain behaviors in order to protect yourself.
You mean like not clicking on links from unidentified sources, that kind of training?
Transparency, how do you access sources, what kind of information do you share, because that is actually sort of the leaks that are possibly causing these kind of cyber attacks.
Bart, what surprised you most about this report? You've been doing this for 15, 19 years. What surprised you most about this year's report?
Well, you know, CEOs are always concerned, and they have to, about their customers. I mean, you know, that's of course where your end product and your end service is going to go. But I think now they're really beginning to see themselves almost personally engaging with the customer. This is not a marketing issue anymore. It is the CEOs themselves, the C-suite, and all their workers that really need to directly connect with that customer. Because you so easily can lose your customer these days that if you're not focused on them, it's going to be very difficult for business. And you see that much more clearly now than we have seen it in previous years.
All right, very much the CEO personal touch. All right, thank you for your personal touch. Bart van Ark, Chief Economist with the Conference Board.